Right, we've gone back to a pattern now, but this is not just a pattern tracing everything with your mapping pen and embossing. We're going to be using a straight fine grid and using the little key, the little image from the pattern. Now what I've done here is I've just drawn the two lines there of the border, and I've done that with my ruler and my white pencil. Once you've done that, you would obviously have a full square. I haven't, I've only got 3 sides. So let's take that away. I'm going to use these bits again, so I'm going to just take them off, pop that to one side for the minute while we get our embossing mat, and we turn over. I'm going to have my, oops, sorry, wrong tool, my 1mm embossing tool. And as I say, you would have a full square. I don't have a full square here. I've just got 3 sides. And we're going to work just very gently along here. So this is the back of your work. Remember, we've embossed, sorry we haven't. We've traced the white lines. I've turned my parchment over and I'm now embossing on the back. You can do this freehand if you want, but I'm just using my ruler because if I do it freehand, I'm afraid it's not straight at all, it's everywhere. So I just go along. One thing, when you are using your ruler, people do tend to be a little bit more heavy-handed, so just be aware of that. That when you're embossing, you're not pressing, you've not got a craft knife, you're not cutting through your parchment, you just want to emboss it. So just be aware that we're on a sponge mat and you can, if you're not careful, go through very easily. There we go. And we can see, look, we've got the white lines from the embossing. Now we're going to go to our grid, and I'm going to turn my mat over onto my perforating side. Because we're going to do the embossing first, which the red lines, these big ones you will have to do with a 2mm embossing tool in a little while. So all we're going to concentrate on at the moment are the small ones around the edge. And because we're embossing and we're going to be working through the grid, we're going to turn the parchment over. Try and line up your white embossed lines with one of the lines on the grid. Doing my best to try and line it up, but I'm not right the way over the work, so if I'm not there, I'm sorry. Okay, so then, as I said, we want to count up 1, 2, 3, then emboss from your line. So we're going to go, we've got your white embossed line here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then emboss. So we're counting 1, 2, 3, and emboss. So all the way round, we're going to do these little embossed dots. All I'm doing is using the 1mm embossing tool, popping it on where there's a black area. The black area is a hole in the grid, and just giving a little mark. That's all we need to do. And you work all the way round, so we're 4 rows up from your white line, all the way round. So just to make sure that when you come this way, on a corner I would still count 1, 2, 3, 4, just so we know we are in the right area, because it is quite easy to skip a row. So when we've done all that all the way around, now I'm just going to put, because it's very warm in here, you see my parchment starting to curl a little bit and it's coming away from the edge. So what I'm going to do is just pop another piece of tape there to hold it down. So we're going to turn it all the way over, and you can see the embossed dots showing through the grid. Right, so we'll just refer back to the pattern for one moment, because we're going to do the perforations. Now remember, the blue dots are the perforations, and for that you'll see I do have my my 1 needle perforating tool. Getting confused with my perforations and my embossing. Right, so let me bring that pattern back in again. Right, so on here we've got, from the embossed dot, we're going to miss 2 and we're going to perforate 2. We're going to miss 2 and we're going to perforate 2. So let's get on with that. So in the corner we miss 1, 2 and we perforate 1, 2. Miss 1, 2, perforate 1, 2. Sorry, I've just lost it. There we go. One, 2, perforate 1, 2. And we do that from the corner as well. So miss 2, perforate 2, miss 2, perforate 2. And you go all the way along around, and then we can start our second line, which is, again, miss 2, perforate 2, miss 2, perforate 2. And from this way, miss 2, perforate 2, miss 2. And I always find it best if I say it to myself that way, then I don't miss any. Well, hopefully I don't miss any. And then the last line, let me bring the pattern in. The last line, as we see, that's just all perforations, which will sit just above your white embossed line, all the way around the corner. And we turn it over, and as you can see, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a group of 4, a group with no embossing, perforating, we're going to emboss that in a second, a group of 4, 4, 4 with gaps in between, and then our line all the way around. So you're going to do that completely around that square. I'm going to pop my perforating tool down for a second. Let's just take this away. Pop that over to one side. We've done that with that for the moment. And take all our tape off so we don't get stuck everywhere. I save these bits, you know, and use them time and time again. You don't have to take them off and throw them away every time. Right, so I find my 2mm embossing tool here. And these areas here we're going to emboss, because if we refer back to the pattern, we've got large red dots. They indicate embossing. If you're unsure, just follow the key on the bottom of your pattern and that will always tell you. So I'm going to pop it on, and we're just going to do a bit of a wiggle. There's nothing, not a large enough area to be able to do any more than a little wiggle. Now again, there and there. Go all the way round and then start again. Remember, Once you've given your parchment a chance to rest, it's easier to emboss and it will become much whiter when you emboss. This is going to give a nice little border around. There, can we see how lovely and white that embossing comes? I'm just going back to the pattern again, because if we have a look here, can you see there are lines joining these dots together, forming a cross in the middle, and that shows where we're going to cut it. And we're going to cut these crosses with our snips, parchment scissors, very, very fine points, so that they sit nicely in the holes. Right, when you cut, to cut across, you're going to go across the waist. So this bit in the middle is the waist that we want to get rid of. So we pop our blades across there, put the points just into the holes, lower them slightly, twist and pull back. Turn around. So we've just cut hole 1 and 2. We're now going to cut holes 2 and 3. Lower, twist, pull back. Turn again into holes 3 and 4. Lower, twist and pull back. Turn again into holes 4 and 1. Lower, twist and pull back. Not quite dropped out, so one of them I've just missed, so I just there it was that first one I just missed, and there we have our cross. And now, because you've got these dots all the way around your border, you're going to do every one of those in that way to give a lovely finished cross border. And what you can do to completely finish it off is your two, let me just turn this around, your 2 needle tool, and you can go around the edge with your 2 needle. Remember, into the last hole, create only 1 hole as you come around, all the way around your border. Could be done on the grid if you wanted also. We then use our little snips, cutting off the waist in the same way, and that's going to give you a nice picot edge to finish that border off. Let me just cut so we can see just this little area here. So we've got a nice picot edge around. So we've used our pattern and our white pencil and ruler, first of all, to draw the lines. We've then used the ruler and the number 1mm embossing tool to emboss them before we've gone on to our straight fine grid to create the nice little border around by embossing and perforating and then cutting those crosses neatly with our snips or parchment scissors.